The practical purpose of the halo is to identify the holy people in a painting. The halo typically has a circular shape representing perfection, divinity, and holiness, and it's partly inspired by a line in the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 13, verse 43, which states, "Then the godly people will shine like the sun." To take a deeper dive into the concept of the halo, some artists created different types of halos to allow viewers to quickly recognize some specific people in a painting. A simple example is the Last Supper from around 1481 by Cosimo Rosselli, showing Jesus and his 12 disciples at the table. If you look at all the halos, you can distinguish three different ones. The circular golden halo for 11 of the disciples, the golden halo of Jesus at the center with the shape of a red cross inside of it, and the dark halo of the man sitting on the other side of the table. This is the halo for Judas. We just saw an example of a halo with a cross shape within it, better known as the Cruciform Halo or the Cross Halo. While it has been occasionally used to indicate any member of the Holy Trinity, it is by far most commonly used to indicate to the viewer that this person is Jesus, as you can see in the following examples. The cross within the halo refers to the crucifixion of Jesus, but it also has been interpreted as a reference to the Holy Trinity. Around 1484, Ghirlandaio only included two people with a halo in his adoration of the shepherds: Mary with a more solid golden halo, and Jesus with a red cross shape within his halo. We can see a similar red cross within Jesus' halo in his Last Supper scene from 1440 by Fra Angelico. And also in some other works by Fra Angelico, like this scene showing the flight into Egypt, and this one about the deposition from the cross. And as a side note, look at the halos of some of the other people, where the artist has included some patterns inside the halo. It may not be perfectly visible here, but for artists these patterns were a way to be unique compared to others, and they can help art historians to identify the artist or workshop in which the painting has been created. Looking at the halo of Jesus in this work by Andrea Mantegna, you can also see a subtle red cross, but here we can see the full shape of the cross. This is interesting, as in this case the cross would not refer to the Holy Trinity, as we see all four arms of the cross, unlike in most other paintings. And to the best of my understanding, the reason that the cross is red in these examples is a reference to the bloodshed at his crucifixion. But as we will see next, the cross is definitely not always red. Here are two versions of Jesus blessing the world from the early 16th century by Andrea Previtali. The first one shows a golden halo with a finely painted golden cross shape within it, while the second version seems to have a 5-armed cross. But if you look carefully, you can see that it is actually a tree-shaped cross, similar to the cross on the Globus Cruciger he is holding, combined with two series of light rays in between the arms of the cross. Around 1550, the Spanish artist Juan de Juanes chose a combination of these approaches by creating the cross shape from 3 beams of 3 light rays, even though these rays are not yellow but a bit darker. But you can see the many subtle golden colored rays in between radiating from the head of Jesus. The same artist used a more conventional variation of a halo for Jesus in the Lamentation of Christ. Also in the 16th century, Paolo Morando used a more subtle approach to distinguish Jesus, where you can see a small cross within his halo, which is different from the standard halo around the heads of the Virgin Mary and Saint John the Baptist. A particular kind of halo is sometimes associated with the Virgin Mary, and it includes 12 stars surrounding her head. It is based on a description in Revelation chapter 12, where the woman of the Apocalypse is described as follows. And then a great wonder appeared in heaven. There was a woman who was clothed with the sun, and the moon was under her feet. She had a crown of 12 stars on her head. The woman gave birth to a son who would rule all the nations with an iron rod. And her child was taken up to God and to his throne. Mary is sometimes depicted with these 12 stars, especially in scenes showing the Immaculate Conception. In the beginning of this video, we saw the dark halo for Judas in the Last Supper scene from 1481 by Cosimo Rosselli. This idea has actually been used by more artists to separate Judas in the Last Supper scene, as you can also see in this version of Fra Angelico, where the darker halo of Judas identifies him as one of the people seated on the right. The color black can simply be interpreted as Judas having been regarded as the anti-saint. But in line with the positive meaning of a halo representing the bright light of God, the black halo can even better be interpreted as Judas spreading the dark aura of the devil who resides in darkness. The black halo has not really stuck with artists throughout history, as later people would just omit the halo in the Last Supper scene, as that would be just as effective to identify Judas. One curious distinction in the way halos are depicted is that sometimes figures do not have a circular halo, but a collection of gold rays of light emitting from their head, sometimes referred to as a sunburst halo, like in this work by Botticelli entitled Christ Crowned with Thorns. This variation of the halo more explicitly reflects the idea that the person with the halo is illuminated by God's divine light, and they can use that light in turn to illuminate others. The idea goes all the way back to Greek and Roman art, where the sun god Helios and Roman emperors were depicted with a crown of rays. To the best of my understanding, this variation of the halo has been revived in France and Belgium in the 14th century, quite independently from the circular halo that was popular in Renaissance Italy. Now, to be honest, before starting the research for this video, I was curious why in some paintings there are different types of halos, like the circular and sunburst halo for different people. But I don't have the full answer to this question. In some of these examples, Jesus has a sunburst halo, while Mary, Joseph and the disciples have a circular halo. In this case, it is probably a reference that Jesus is really emitting the divine light of God more than the others. But here's an example of Tobias and the Angel by Filippino Lippi, where the angel has a circular halo and Tobias has the sunburst variant. And I'm not exactly sure why. And I'm not even sure if Tobias is really a saint. But if you have any ideas, please share them in the comment section down below. In some instances, a halo can surround the full body of someone, and in that case it is often referred to as a mandorla. Typically, the mandorla is used only for God, the Holy Spirit, Jesus, or the Virgin Mary. Look, for example, at the Adoration of the Magi from 1466 by Antonio Vivarini. While the holy people on earth are depicted with a halo around their head, the dove representing the Holy Spirit is painted within a large oval-shaped mandorla, and similarly, the head of God on top is surrounded by a large mandorla. And if you look carefully, both the Holy Spirit and God also have the more traditional halo around their head, though a bit harder to see as they are located within the larger mandorla. And this painting from around 1445 by Pisonello shows Mary and Jesus with a large circular-shaped mandorla, and Mary has a separate halo on top of her head. Jesus does not seem to have a halo, as explained in last week's video, because according to some traditions, he would only get a halo after his baptism. And just to be precise, the term mandorla is typically used for when the person is depicted within an almond shape, as you can see in this Last Judgment scene by Fra Angelico. A variation of the solid-shaped mandorla can be seen in this painting from 1480 entitled Descent of Christ into Limbo by the Spanish artist Bartolomé Bermejo, where unlike the other holy people, Christ is surrounded by a sunburst halo and rays of light surrounding his full body, similar to the Mandorla, but often referred to as an aureola. We can also see the same idea in The Birth of Christ from 1409 by Lorenzo Monaco. Notice that all these examples come from the 15th century, and the concept of the Mandorla and aureola seem to have lost popularity afterwards. Well, I hope this discussion was somewhat enlightening. If you enjoyed it, please hit that thumbs up button, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Thanks for watching.